first thing that I want to share with you, and I know Sarah will jump in here whenever spirit moves her to, is that the ancient Egyptian temples were laid out to reflect the form of the human body. This was something that was discovered by a man named Schwaller de Lubitz, who spent decades of his life studying the ancient temples and ancient forms of expression, etc. And so, for instance, this is one of de Lubitz's drawings, and this is the temple of Karnak.
You have a pointer.
Oh yeah, look at that. Yeah, right on. I wish I had a cat.
Just so you know, they're here with us.
And so, not only, the ancients realized that our bodies were containers for the spirit. And so they built their temples to also be containers for the spirit. And they literally mirror the form of the human body. And the progression as you go into the temple, don't step on the seat of life. As the progression as you go into the temple and go into the increasingly rarefied atmosphere until you end up in the Holy of Holies, corresponds exactly to the progression of the chakra system of our subtle energy body as we move from the state of unity in pre-existence through all of the illusion of duality, conflict, self-mastery, higher realms of expression, and then eventually return to unity as ascension. And so that process is mirrored quite physically, quite literally on the ground, and it is also mirrored as we move up the Nile. So I've long been struck by the resemblance of the Nile itself, the river, to to our spinal columns.
Yes.
As it moves up and flowers up into the brain stem. And each of the Egyptian temples is dedicated to a particular god. Now they never use that term, they use the phrase netters. And it's such a complex and beautiful iconography, and it's such a rich way to characterize and anchor all of these different forms of cosmic energy, to embody them in the sort of meta personalities of the gods and goddesses. And the passion story of Isis and Osiris is a phenomenally rich thing. It is one of the primary myths from which flows the idea of a dying and resurrecting God-man, an immaculate conception and a virgin birth. I mean, the list goes on. So this is really just a primary energetic, psychic, and spiritual template for the planet, for humanity. And so as we sail up the Nile, we go from the root chakra up through the corresponding chakras, and each temple, and I'm gonna lay this out for you here in just a second. At least I think I am. I know I've got so many of these Yeah, I do. Good. Sarah and I were talking this afternoon, and I'm like, well, yeah, I can give you this presentation, or I got this one. So as we sail up the Nile and as we visit subsequent temples, we go from the root chakra. Now understand, the ancient Egyptians never spoke of chakras. They never use these terms. I'm drawing corollaries with something that I'm sure is familiar to most of you.
The Indians, the Eastern Indians, took the chakra system and defined it, but they utilized, and at the same time that it was developing, that's what all of the different classes are based on there. The untouchables are the feet. They even draw the diagrams out with each of the people there. And one of the important things I think to mention is, though the common people would not move through the temples, as we get to move through them and activate. I think you made mention of that. The chakra system, we're so elegant and advanced in our thinking, we can combine so many teachings of the ancient ones and experience it through all the mental processes, even though we don't need any of the mental stuff to know what's happening in the immersion of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's fascinating about the Vedic genesis of these things. I didn't realize they characterized it in that exact same way.
The exact same way. Amazing. The untouchables are at the feet and the priest or Brahma up here.
Yeah, wow. So we start out with the root chakra, the Mooladhara chakra, and this is unity, creation, life. this is the temple of Isis at Philae, and Isis is the goddess of magic and of creation, you know, par excellence. And I'm going to go through and we're going to see images from all of these temples, so I'll return to those. But so as we come out of the unity, as we go from the unmanifest into manifestation, we inherently move into the world of duality, of polarity, of the sexual experience. We move into the world of the illusion of the other. And we forget the source of unity that everything has come from. And this is the Sacral Chakra. Yeah? And then we move, as we go through our progression of individuation and growth and learning, and begin to wake up and realize, oh, I have to control some of these lower forces, if you will. That's where the solar plexus, the Manipura chakra, and that is where the energies of will and self-mastery are embodied. And you know, in a lot of yogic traditions, those lower three chakras are kind of grouped together. And we'll talk about, oh, he was Tho in his lower chakras, you know. So it's through the use of your will and your self-mastery in the solar plexus that you are able to master the lower energies of experience and then move into the higher realms of self-expression. The heart chakra, anahata, love and compassion. The throat chakra, self-expression. The third eye, ajna, our ability to really see clarity and truth. You know, and this is where the illusion of duality is completely and finally burned away. And out of the ash of that, we are able to achieve transcendence and ascension through the crown chakra, the 1,000-petaled lotus. So this is where, you know, the Ouroboros eats its own tail, and we return to the truth of what we came from. So that's the progression of spiritual transformation that we're all on. Every human being on the planet, everybody in this room, me, Sarah, Greg, we're all on that path, unavoidably. And so this is embodied in this beautiful hotel that we're going to be staying in. Sorry, that's just a weird transition. I didn't realize that. This is embodied in the temples of the ancient Egyptian world. As we sail up the Nile, we are going to be traversing each of these energetic imprints. And we're going to be experiencing each of these energies in these kind of meta-personalities of the Netters, of Isis and Osiris and Horus and Set and etc.